At Thanksgiving, my sister found out I had about 12 million. My parents demanded I give it to her because she deserved it more. Welcome to Karma Ledger. Today's story is a true life account told with names and details changed for privacy. Before we begin, if you enjoy thoughtful, real stories, please subscribe. It's quick, free, and helps the channel grow. Thank you. I'm Sarah, using a throwaway and altering a few specifics to stay anonymous. Ever seen families where one child can do no wrong and the other is basically invisible? That's me. Life was ordinary until I was 8. I was an only child. My parents weren't overly affectionate, but they were around. Mom helped with homework. Dad sometimes took me fishing on Lake St. Clair. Not perfect, but fine. One night Aunt Kelly arrived at 2 a.m. and told me to pack a bag. Mom was in the hospital. My sister Rachel was coming 2 months early. Weeks followed with hospital runs and hushed conversations. Rachel was tiny, covered in tubes. I wasn't allowed to touch her. That was the first time I felt an invisible wall rise between me and everyone else. When Rachel came home, our house turned into a sanitized bubble. Mom became obsessed with germs, industrial cleaners, sanitizer in every room, constant scrubbing. Even now, the smell of bleach triggers me. If I showed the slightest hint of being sick, I'd be sent to Grandma Marie's or Aunt Kelly's. One sneeze, pack a bag. Little cough, off you go. At first, it felt like an adventure. Grandma baked cookies. Aunt Kelly had Nancy Drew. But kids aren't stupid. I realized I wasn't being sent on fun trips. I was being treated like a threat to my fragile sister. I tried healthy ways to get attention. Straight A's? Mom barely looked up from Rachel's appointment calendar. I won the science fair with a renewable energy project. Dad asked me to store the poster in the garage because Rachel's allergic to cardboard dust. Worst was at 12. I practiced bridge over troubled water for months for the talent show. No one came. 2 weeks later, the entire clan showed up for Rachel's 15-minute flute recital, where she squeaked through hot cross buns. By 7, Rachel had outgrown most health issues, but the dynamic stuck. Headache? Must stay home. Tired. Someone else should do my chores. Nervous about a test? Mom called school to extend deadlines. I withdrew to my room and devoured books on art history and antiques. Rachel claimed she was allergic to my lavender air freshener, so my room became the one place she avoided. Silver lining. Grandma's costume jewelry collection hooked me. She let me sort and catalog it, the seed of my future. The worst wasn't just favoritism. It was the way they rewrote history to justify it. Rachel needs extra attention after such a rough start. Sarah's independent. She understands. No, I didn't. I was a kid, wondering why having a decent immune system made me less worthy of love. Those years taught me to be self-reliant. No one checked my homework or celebrated my wins, so I learned to be my own cheerleader. High school was my ticket out. I organized everything with military precision. Color-coded notes, study plans. Rachel called me Rain Man. I joined every club that fit around my part-time job at Carson's Diner. Debate team, National Honor Society president, editor-in-chief of the school paper. Debate taught me how to dismantle arguments calmly and to negotiate, skills I'd need later. I won state twice. My parents missed both because of Rachel's soccer games. Junior year got wild. I scored a perfect 1,600 on the SAT. Less than one managed that. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes, thinking it was a glitch. I rushed home to tell my parents. Mom said, "That's nice, honey. Keep it down. Rachel's studying." Rachel snapped, Some of us actually have to study Miss Perfect. That printout never made it to the fridge. Rachel's C+ did, with a "we're so proud" magnet. I handled college applications alone. 15 schools, essays, reco letters, financial aid. My counselor, Mr. Chen, was a lifesaver. I stayed after school to do FAFSA because my parents were too busy. Acceptances poured in. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Michigan, with scholarships. I hid the letters so Rachel wouldn't find them and hijack the narrative. When I got a full ride from Michigan, the family celebrated. Rachel's JV cheerleading. I ate microwave mac and cheese while they went to Olive Garden. Whatever. My scholarship covered tuition, room, board, books. I cried in my favorite library window seat. Tears of relief. At dinner, I said I was going to Michigan. "So far," Mom moaned. "What if Rachel needs you?" Dad added. "We can't help with expenses. Cheer comps are expensive." Rachel asked if she could have my room for TikToks. Classic. The summer before college, I worked doubles at Carson's. The owner, Carol, remembered my birthday when my parents didn't. Move-in day, my parents couldn't come due to a cheer competition. Aunt Kelly took me, helped set up my dorm, and handed me an envelope from Grandma. $500 she'd saved from Social Security checks. That night, I promised to build a life so bright it would be impossible to overlook, not to spite my family, but for the 8-year-old who was always sent away for sneezing. College flew by. Ramen, all-nighters, independence. I graduated summa cum laude from the University of Michigan. My parents didn't notice. They were busy helping Rachel transfer to her 3rd college in 2 years. My first job was at a high-end auction house in Detroit. I started in estates, cataloging china, furniture, endless costume jewelry. Then came the Kingston estate. In a pile of costume pieces, a brooch caught my eye. Art Deco, with weight and a complex clasp that didn't fit cheap fakes. I spent lunches and late nights researching makers' marks, used the company databases, and even paid for an online gemology course. I pitched my boss, Mr. Harrison, with a meticulous presentation. The costume brooch sold for 47,000 $47,000, part of a limited 1920s collection. After that, Harrison trusted me. I doubled down. Courses, weekends at estate sales, notebooks full of authentication processes, walls covered with Hallmark printouts. I started spotting significant pieces others missed, built collector contacts, learned the market. Commissions grew. At Sunday dinners, if I mentioned a rare Tiffany I'd authenticated, Rachel chirped about a mall charm bracelet. I didn't care. I had something that was mine. 2 years in, the Rothschild estate arrived. I flagged a seemingly ordinary Art Nouveau piece and dug for 3 days. It proved to be from a famous French jeweler's private collection, thought lost in Wai. It sold for $238,000. Harrison called me in. I expected a promotion. Instead, "You're wasting your talent here. Start your own firm." I laughed. Start a business with what money? But the idea stuck. I freelanced small authentications. Word spread. One night, surrounded by tools and manuals in my tiny apartment, it clicked. I could really do this. I took a loan on my car, emptied savings, and rented a cramped office above a Chinese restaurant. It always smelled like Kung Pao chicken, and the Wi-Fi only worked in one corner, but it was mine. The first months were terrifying. I woke at 4 a.m. in cold sweats doing runway math. My furniture was a Goodwill card table and a curb-rescued chair. But in high-end jewelry, reputation is everything, and I had some from the auction house. I undercut big labs on price and over-delivered on detail. 6 months in, a watershed. A dealer brought a massive Victorian brooch collection. I lived on coffee for 2 weeks and found 2 rare pieces misidentified as later copies. The owner paid my fee and added a 10 commission. My cut, 86,000 to learn, more than my last 2 years combined. After that, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Private collectors, estate lawyers, even my old auction house sent work. By year 2, I hired Jenny, a brilliant new gemology grad who reminded me of me. Quiet, overlooked, razor sharp. She's now my head of authentication. We moved downtown, built a specialist team, and earned a reputation for discretion. You'd be shocked how many historically important pieces sit misidentified in attics. We expanded to Chicago and New York. I kept my lifestyle modest. A nice but not flashy house, a refined but low-key car. I only splurged on my home lab, security, and a custom vault. My family still thought I worked at an antique shop. At Sunday dinner, I wore understated cashmere and listened to Rachel brag about fetching her boss's coffee. For fun, I'd wear a real Harry Winston to dinner and see if anyone noticed. They didn't. Once, Rachel showed off a 200 Michael Kors watch while I sat there in a vintage Patek Philippe worth more than her car. Then came the help us phase. Aunt Kelly mentioned my parents were drowning in Rachel's loans and medical bills, maybe selling the house. Despite everything, that was my childhood home. I set up an anonymous $5,000 monthly transfer, later $7,000. My parents treated me with a strange mix of pity and patronizing pride, imagining I lived on ramen to help the family. Rachel's spending ramped up, designer bags from outlets, luxury trips on Instagram. I can spot real Gucci across a room. Most wasn't outlet anything. I kept quiet. Irony can be entertaining. Rachel decided she needed an expensive private school MBA. Mom called crying they couldn't afford it. I suggested state programs. "Sweetie, Rachel has standards," Mom said, and asked me to increase my contribution. I did, up to $7,000 a month, still a rounding error for me. The kicker? I was invited to guest lecture at the very business school Rachel wanted, on luxury authentication and scaling a firm. I skipped Sunday dinner and made up an excuse. I felt like a superhero with a secret identity. Multi-million-dollar CEO by day, antique shop, disappointment by night. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Mom said her back was out, and cooking for 20 felt impossible. I offered to cater, partly kindness, partly because I was done pretending her dry turkey was good. She worried about cost. I said I'd saved up. I hired a top catering team I use for clients. Expensive, flawless food. On the day, I also needed to monitor a major Hong Kong auction for a client. Lunch arrived, perfectly plated. Rachel sneered about store-bought stuffing, then went quiet after tasting the maple-glazed Brussels sprouts. I set up my laptop in my old bedroom to watch the auction and keep my authentication software ready. I left several tabs open: accounts, contracts, reports. Rachel barged in for a charger, saw my screen, and decided to expose me. She marched into the dining room and spun the laptop around to show everyone what she thought would be tiny antique transactions. Silence. On the screen. Current account balance 12. 4M. A pending authentication contract for $485K. A recent 1. 2M transaction. And my Hong Kong auction report showing 4. 2M quarterly profit. Rachel's face cycled through 5 emotions in 3 seconds. "This can't be right," she croaked. Mom laughed it off. "Don't be silly. Sarah works at a little antique shop." I stood and said calmly, "Actually, I own one of the largest jewelry authentication firms in the country. Those antique shop comments? I authenticate multi-million-dollar pieces, We have offices in 3 cities. Chaos. Mom's laughter turned to rage. You let us struggle while you sit on millions, I said. Struggle? I've been sending you $7,000 a month. Mom shot back. While hoarding millions, your sister has loans. Not congratulations, not we're proud, just outrage I hadn't given them more. Rachel cried, saying she deserved to know, and I'd betrayed the family. Dad piled on about selfishness and parental sacrifice. I snapped. I listed everything. The years I was shipped off for sneezing, the missed achievements, the milestones erased because Rachel might feel left out, the private schools for her and nothing for me. The caterers awkwardly served dessert while everyone yelled. I grabbed my laptop, my Hermes bag, and left. As I walked out, Mom was already planning how to spend my money. Rachel's MBA, a new car. On the drive home, in my limited edition BMW, my phone exploded. 47 missed calls, 200+ messages. The family chat melting down. Rachel posted on Facebook about hidden family wealth and selfish siblings. Distant cousins and old classmates weighed in. She even claimed she'd been helping my career for years, and once suggested I sell on Etsy, her single piece of advice. Monday, my parents and Rachel showed up at my office without an appointment. They told my receptionist they were there for an authentication consult. In the lobby, Mom announced, "We've decided as a family you should set up trust funds for everyone. Rachel, I need at least $2 million to start my new life. Dad, we're thinking of retiring, maybe a beach house in Florida." I said, "Did you miss the part where I've been sending you $7,000 every month?" Rachel sniffed. "That's nothing compared to what you have. You owe us." I asked, "Owe you for what exactly? The years of being ignored? The missed graduations?" Mom said, "Don't be dramatic. We gave you everything." I replied, "No. I gave myself everything. And I'm done." I canceled the monthly transfers on the spot. They refused to leave. Security escorted them out. I didn't press charges but had their names added to the building's do not admit list. The harassment kept coming. New numbers, fake emails, even customer service tickets. My lawyer sent a formal cease-and-desist with harassment implications. Mom tried Grandma Marie. But Grandma is sharper than all of them combined. Her response, "Good for Sarah. About time someone in this family succeeded on her own terms." Mom didn't speak to her for 2 months. It's been 6 months since Thanksgiving. I moved to a new home with better security and changed all my numbers. The business is thriving. The ordeal actually attracted some high-profile clients who respect my discretion. Rachel still posts passive-aggressive updates about toxic wealth and says she's starting her own authentication firm. Good luck with that. My parents finally backed off after my lawyer's letter. Now they tell people they never wanted my money and are praying for my soul. For the first time in my life, I feel free. No more Sunday dinners full of digs. No more shrinking to protect feelings. No more bankrolling the Rachel show. My therapist says I'm finally setting healthy boundaries. I say I'm finally living honestly. Grandma's coming next month to help catalog a new collection. One last note to Rachel. That Cartier bracelet in your latest Instagram? It's a fake. Just saying. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this story, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It helps Karma Ledger keep bringing real stories to you. See you next time.